Thanks for tuning in to SpaceX Daily, episode 16. It's June 27, 2026, and I'm Patrick in Vancouver. Let's get into today's SpaceX developments. Ship 40's single-engine static fire clears the first hot fire gate for the vehicle that will fly Starship's next integrated test. SpaceX rolled Ship 40 to the test stand and fired one Raptor, completing the vehicle's first hot fire test. The limited duration burn validates initial engine health before a planned multi-engine campaign. Ship 40 performed its initial static fire sequence at the orbital launch mount. The test used a single engine and produced the first visible plume from this particular vehicle. Data review will determine when the ship advances to a full 6-engine firing. Keep Track reports that Ship 40 completed its first engine test while preparations continue for a U.S. Starlink mobile service rollout. The two developments sit on separate timelines, both advanced Starship and Starlink programs. The U.S. Starlink mobile service rollout remains in active preparation. Keep Track supplied the report on these parallel efforts. With the upper stage test campaign advancing, attention shifts to the supporting ground infrastructure and booster work happening in parallel. Booster 20 received new hardware at the production site, while crews performed fresh work on Starbase Launch Pad 2. Observers track new hardware visible on Booster 20 at the Starbase production site. Photos show fresh structural elements installed since the last public update, consistent with ongoing iteration toward the next booster flight test. Ground crews activated Starbase Launch Pad 2 as part of the ongoing Flight 12 test campaign. The work includes infrastructure checks required before the next full stack attempt. Commenters on NASA space flight forums highlight the activation of Starbase Pad 2 infrastructure. The discussion centers on how the second pad could eventually support parallel vehicle processing once Flight 12 clears its test gates. SpaceX plans a 13 kilometers pipeline. This pipeline will reduce truck reliance. The pipeline will speed up Starship rocket launches in the U.S. Construction of a dedicated 13 kilometers propellant pipeline is slated to begin next month at Starbase. The line is intended to cut truck traffic and shorten turnaround times between launches. While Starship hardware moves forward, the Falcon program continues its high-cadence operations on the West Coast. A Falcon 9 is scheduled to lift off from Vandenberg Space Force Base over the weekend. The mission will deploy another batch of Starlink satellites on a trajectory that may produce audible sonic booms along the central California coast. The same Vandenberg Falcon 9 mission is expected to generate sonic booms audible in parts of Arizona depending on trajectory and weather. Local authorities have issued standard public advisories for the overflight window. Local Arizona residents discuss expected sonic boom timing for the upcoming Vandenberg Falcon 9. Comments focus on the precise overflight window and how coastal launch azimuths translate into inland noise reports. The reliability of SpaceX's workhorse rocket stands in contrast to recent setbacks elsewhere in the lunar supply chain. A recent Blue Origin launch vehicle failure has reduced the number of certified engines available for NASA's Artemis lunar architecture. The incident increases reliance on SpaceX hardware for near-term lunar cargo and crew missions. Space enthusiasts note the first visible plume from Ship 40 and compare it to prior single-engine test profiles. Early video analysis suggests the burn duration and plume shape align with the conservative start planned for new vehicles. As SpaceX users debate whether Starfall adds value for in-space manufacturing. Observers note that Starship's own heat shield and catch capability already solve re-entry and recovery. A separate Starfall vehicle appears redundant for returning manufactured goods. The thread questions whether the concept was mainly positioned for investor appeal. The concept may not meet an operational need. Worth keeping an eye on, a Blue Origin launch vehicle explosion has removed one certified engine family from near-term NASA lunar missions, yet it underscores that SpaceX still lacks demonstrated orbital refueling at the 15 launch cadence Artemis planners require. Until Starship completes a full propellant transfer demonstration and rapid booster reuse, the program remains the single point of failure for the current lunar timeline. Resolution depends on the next integrated flight test series achieving those two milestones without further slips, Parallel to launch cadence, SpaceX is also expanding supporting compute infrastructure. On the AI front, Elon Musk's SpaceX AI filed $300 million in construction permits for a Memphis facility expansion tied to the broader Musk compute ecosystem. The permits cover additional site work at the location already hosting xAI's Colossus-class training cluster. From an engineering standpoint, a single-engine static fire on a new Starship upper stage is the lowest-risk way to confirm that the vehicle's propellant feed system, valve timing, and engine controller all talk to one another before committing 6 engines to a longer burn. By lighting only one Raptor, engineers isolate any leaks, sensor drift, or software timing issues while the vehicle is still bolted to the pad. The physics of cryogenic propellant flow and turbo pump spin-up remain identical to a full-duration test, yet the energy released and the potential for cascading damage stay minimal. Once that first burn succeeds, the test campaign can scale engine count and duration without repeating the same basic plumbing checks, collapsing the number of full vehicle rollouts required before flight. The approach mirrors the historical pattern seen in Falcon 9 engine testing, where incremental firings drove the cost of each additional test down toward the raw propellant and labor floor rather than the cost of an entire stage. The next observable milestone will be whether Ship 40 moves to a 3 or 6 engine firing within days, which would indicate that the single engine data closed the initial control loop questions and cleared the vehicle for the higher thrust regime needed for Flight 12. And a quick market note. SPCX closed at $153.23, up 0.3%. Before we go, the next data point to watch is whether Ship 40 advances to a multi-engine static fire in the coming days. That covers everything worth knowing about SpaceX today. SPCX is trading at $153.23, up 0.3%. A quick rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify goes a long way. I'm Patrick in Vancouver. See you tomorrow. And before you go, this show is part of the NARA Network, a family of daily podcasts on tech, science, and markets. Each one a short, sharp briefing you can finish on the commute. If today earned its place in your feed, here's your next listen. Planetarian daily breakthroughs in science, health, and longevity. Find every show free at naranetwork.com. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.